So let's talk about The Shape of Water, shall we? I literally just finished watching the movie like 10 to 15 minutes ago, so it's all fresh in my brain. So, it's a Guillermo del Toro movie, if you didn't know. He's done a bunch of strange movies in the past. I have to go back and actually finish Pan's Labyrinth, because I never finished it. Which I think is doing myself a disservice. But, you know, that's one of his more famous movies, Pan's Labyrinth. Also, Pacific Rim. He's also known for Hellboy, the Ron Perlman Hellboy. Because there is a new Hellboy movie being made with, what's his fucking name? The actor, not the director. I don't know who the fuck's directing it, and I know who is starring as Hellboy, but I don't remember. I think it's the sheriff guy from Stranger Things, whatever the fuck his name is. He's the one who's playing Hellboy. Anyway, Shape of Water. It's really good. It's super fucking weird. But I like weird movies. I really enjoyed The Witch, which is a super fucking weird movie. If you want to see a really weird movie, The Witch. It's an A24 movie. Just type in The Witch, you'll find it. It's fucking... Not only is it not in English, like modern English, it's in like Old English or whatever the fuck. And it's weird. I'll talk about that in another video if you guys want me to. But yeah, fucking The Witch. So this movie, The Shape of Water, hits the ground running. It literally starts within the first 5 minutes. There's nudity. And then there is straight up masturbation. Granted, you don't see the masturbation all that well because it's in a tub full of water. But you see it. You know what's going on. Also, there's no penetration between Abe Sapien and the female lead. Whose name is escaping me right now. Sally Hawkins is the main lead. I personally like Zelda more as a character. Octavia Spencer's character, I love Octavia Spencer. She's a great actress. She's like the favorite part of every movie she's in for me. And the reason I say Abe Sapien is because it's basically Abe Sapien. The amphibian man is basically Abe Sapien. It's just like it's a non-verbal Abe Sapien. That's just my opinion. Because the guy who plays Abe, the amphibian man, is actually the guy who played Abe Sapien, at least the physical actor. The voice actor for Abe Sapien was some other fucking guy. But yeah, there's that's the thing in the movie. There's a lot of silence when Eliza and Abe Sapien are on the screen together because he doesn't speak and she can't speak. Although there's a weird scene in the last 30 minutes of the fucking movie. So this movie takes place in the 50s or 60s. I'm not sure if they ever establish when this movie takes place. I think it's in the 60s. And it's in this facility that is very reminiscent of the BPRD. That's why I said Ape Sapien. It's very reminiscent of the BPRD from the Hellboy movies and the comics. You don't really see other assets, as they phrase them, in the movie. You just see this one asset. But it wouldn't surprise me if there are other weird things that, I was also getting, aside from getting a Hellboy-ish kind of vibe, I also kind of got a Cabin in the Woods vibe from the movie. And I think that's mainly because it does kind of look very similar. Same kind of premise, too, where if you haven't seen Cabin in the Woods, spoiler, basically Cabin in the Woods is you send these kids, first you like drug them and whatever, and you send them to these places. And you make movies out of them, but they're also like trying to stave off things. Like it's trying to stave off the end of the world, basically. Which is just, that movie is weird also. I also love that movie, but I'm pretty sure Bradley Whitford's also in this movie, and he's also in Cabin in the Woods. He's like the main antagonist in Cabin in the Woods. Or maybe not. Maybe it isn't Bradley Whitford. I don't know. I thought it was Bradley Whitford. I don't know. I'm going to the IMDb page right now. Because I swear to God, I thought it was Bradley Whitford. Who's of many fames, He's in Get Out. He was also in The West Wing. But yeah. I guess it wasn't Bradley Whitford. It was someone else. Looked very similar to Bradley Whitford to me. But, so the main antagonist of this movie is Strickland, who's played by Michael Shannon. He's been in a bunch of other stuff. And I gotta say, like, the special effects for the amphibian man, I'm not sure if they were practical, but I think they were practical effects. Like, that was and it's also because it's like Doug Jones, the guy who was Amphibian Man. Like, Ape Sapien was almost all practical, I think. Aside, maybe aside from some things, but yeah, so it's really good. There's a lot of implied. There's not like overt racism in the movie, but there's like there's also, again, it's the time the movie's set in. It's set in like the 60s, 50s, 60s time era, like that decade. Maybe those 2 decades. So it's implied that Giles, Richard Jenkins' character, who's like one of the male protagonists, because there's, I guess, technically 2 male protagonists, but because there's Giles, and then there's Hoff, whatever the fuck his name is, Hofstetler, and yeah, it's there's also there's not many sex scenes in the movie, and the only there's actually only one real sex scene in the movie, and it's between Michael Shannon's character Strickland and his wife. And it's like the weirdest, awkwardest sex scene ever. More awkward than the implied sex scenes between the human and the fucking fish person. Like, and maybe that's what they were going for. I don't know. And there's like a subplot to the movie, although I'm not sure if it's just a subplot or it's I guess it's a theme. Giles' character basically doesn't want to get into conflict. He just wants to like live his life out, and he even says, I was either born too early or too late. Again, it's implied that he's gay. Like, his character's gay. And, yeah, if that was the time frame, yeah, you could argue, it'd be true, that he was born, like, too early. And he's like an advertiser guy. He makes, like, it's so weird. So Eliza, the main character, the main female lead, she's a cleaning lady alongside Octavia Spencer's character, Zelda, and they're cleaning, and then the asset Amphibian Man comes into the place where they work. And I think this is the second movie with Octavia Spencer in this time frame working at like a government facility. It's kind of weird. Because she was in Hidden Figures, and then she was in this movie. It's like, in Hidden Figures she played a real person, and in this movie she plays just like... But like it's like they seriously take place in the same fucking basic time frame, like, where racism was still okay, shit like that. And in this, whereas in Hidden Figure she was a human computer, In this movie she's a maid, and she's a whatever female version of a janitor, because janitor, whatever. Because I'm not, she cleans. She's a custodian, female custodian. And like, it's implied that she's in kind of a loveless marriage, and then also Strickland's kind of in a loveless marriage. It's also implied a lot of religious prudishness with Strickland, and then there's an implied rape. Like, Strickland, there's a scene where Strickland implies that he wants to rape the main character, the main female character, which is weird. Strickland, Michael Shannon plays a really good asshole. Like, you want to see him get his shit fucked up. And at the end of the movie, spoiler, he fucking does. He gets his throat ripped out. Although I'm not sure if it's implied that he dies at the end of the movie. Unless there's an after credit scene. He just gets his throat fucking sliced through by the fishman. The movie's 2 hours long. It can feel kind of long in some places. It felt kind of long to me. Because there's a lot of exposition and a lot of silence and stuff like that. Yeah. There's a musical number. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. There's a musical number in the last 30 minutes of the fucking movie that It's basically in it. Eliza sings. If you don't know, it's not a spoiler. The whole music scene is kind of a spoiler, but Eliza's mute throughout the entire movie, except for this, music sequence, this musical sequence, which is weird. Wasn't out of place, but it was just kind of like. It also didn't come out of nowhere because it was kind of implied because the Giles and Eliza were watching the TV and watching a lot of singing and dancing kind of stuff, and she starts to dance. She got a spring in her step, and then Giles and her both do it, and then this musical thing is not it's not out of nowhere. There's a basis for it, but it's still kind of weird. I'm trying to think of what else. I wonder if this is an R. It very much is. Should have assumed that, because there's first 5 minutes of the movie, there's tits and bush, and then there's a masturbation scene. So should have. I assumed it was R, but I forgot. You should watch the movie if you like weird, esoteric, strange movies. This is fucking right up your alley. It's just. Set aside some time, to watch the movie. My favorite character, aside from Eliza and Abe Sapien, is Hostetler, whatever the fuck his name is. Robert Hofstetler. I like him. It's really good. He's a good character before you find out that he's a Russian spy. Again, spoiler. Yeah, he's a Russian spy. Which I think you find out relatively early on in the movie. He dies. It was a really sad scene when he dies, because I thought he was gonna get, thought things. That also didn't come out of nowhere, because it was kind of implied in one of the last scenes that you see him in. It's actually, I think it's the scene right before, it's the one scene that he's in right before he gets murdered. It's implied that he's afraid he's gonna get fucking murdered. It's also implied that they're going to kill him. That kind of stuff. Sad he dies. And then the two Russians who kill him get killed by Strickland. And, yeah. There's kind of a twist ending, because you think it's going to end one way, because Eliza and Abe Sapien get shot and they stop moving. And you're like, okay, they're both dead, whatever. There's a whole thing of they're, together forever. You and me together. Signing it. And, nope, Abe Sapien, apparently a fucking badass god, comes back from it. And straight up just fucking... This is the... After he gets shot by Strickland, a few minutes go by, gets up, and just straight up rips motherfucker's throat out. It's really... You were like, yes, fuck Strickland. And then Abe Sapien takes Eliza, jumps into the sea, basically end credits. And, yeah. a good movie. I'd give it a 10. 10 out of 10. 5 out of 5. Go watch it. Just know it's a super duper fucking weird movie. As I will say, it is strange. So, yeah. Tots, have a wonderful day. Shape of water. 2 thumbs up.